Welcome to episode 97 of the Nerd Rundown podcast. This week, Darren and I talk about the debut trailer for The Marvels. We get some news that Stranger Things is spinning off into animation. Game of Thrones is expanding with a new series in the works that's not Jon Snow. Amazon is looking to deliver, see what I did there, some reboots of Stargate and RoboCop. And lastly, we have a pretty solid trailer train with a cool look at the Penguin. Ready, hit it!
Hey nerds, welcome back to the Nerd Rundown podcast, where we cover the latest in the nerd world of movies, TV, and more. I'm Darren Stemple, and flying with me today is my co-pilot, Erik Hare.
Greetings, fellow kids.
You can't make me laugh at like this intro.
Right. Yeah, we're professionals.
Yeah, super professionals over here. Can't you see? I've got a new device on my mic that's for my explosives, is what it says.
Pop filter.
Helps your explosives.
Pop filter.
So if you want to find us on our social media, you can find us at the Nerd Rundown, all on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. And then if you're here on YouTube and you haven't liked or subscribed and hit the bell for notifications when we post, please do that ASAP. You can also listen to us on all of the major podcast services.
Yes.
Let's hear a word about our sponsor before we get to the rundown. About the chaos. It's no secret here at the Nerd Rundown that we support our veterans and our first responders. We ask that you do the same thing through our sponsor, Combat the Chaos. They're a veteran-owned clothing company that donates part of their proceeds to other amazing organizations supporting these warriors and guardians. If you're a veteran, you're at a 57% higher risk of suicide than those who have not served. As a veteran myself, this cause hits very close to home. This shirt and hat are some of the items available if you follow our link in the description down below to combatthechaos.com. Use the discount code NRD for 15% off and help us fight this battle that veterans and first responders so desperately need. Now, back to the rundown. All right, Erik, last week we celebrated 2 years of doing our thing here.
Yeah.
The show has grown in many ways. We started with one show where we had a theme at the end. Well, we started with like just the rundown, and we added other stuff throughout the whole thing. And the show got to be pretty popular, and by popular demand, the nerds requested that we move into, two different shows. And one be more of like, okay, that should be the theme right there. And then I was like, what show is it? House of the Dragon. I almost said Last of Us. House of the Dragon came out, and that was so damn good. You were like, we should do a recap show, a third show.
Yep. It's kind of off the cuff. Like it was like, we watched the first 2 episodes. I think Stacey and I watched the first 2 episodes, and we were chatting about it amongst ourselves offline. But the third show came up, and I was like, we're missing an opportunity here. Like this is an opportunity where we could talk about this show, kind of go through scene by scene and recap the show. So because I felt like when we watched the Falcon and the Winter Soldier that we kind of missed an opportunity to do that, because we really were like, I really wanted to talk about that show like weekly. Yeah. And that's really what it kind of came down to with the recap show. Was I was thinking to myself, it'd be fun to just get together and just talk about these shows and walk through each scene and talk about each scene and stuff like that, or at least try and hit the highlights, of stuff and like, because there's always like emotional moments or powerful moments, action-packed moments, that I want to talk about and stuff. So recaps was born.
And then I don't know if I enjoyed Last of Us more on the recaps or House of the Dragon, but they were both really fun. I did like debating Morgan a bit more on
The Last of Us. Yeah.
And then the 4 show that we're trying to launch, it's a little bit more difficult than I expected, is the reaction show. And the reaction genre on YouTube is one of the fastest growing genres on YouTube. A lot of people are loving that. And I wasn't very, we actually, but I think pretty much everybody was kind of in agreement that like, we don't think we'll ever be, a reaction show or do a reaction show, because we like to just enjoy the content first and then dissect it or something else. But
we're the kids that peeked at our presents before Christmas. Okay, that's really what it comes down to. Like, I just want to open the present like right away. I don't want to wait for
it. you and my sister.
Yeah.
Oh man, she got me in some trouble. So sometime last year, I fell in love with reaction channels, and I got addicted to them, and I don't say I'm addicted. I think that's a strong word, but I don't know. You get into things, and I was like, you know what? I'm watching a lot of reaction channels, and I feel like I can do a better job than these people. Which sounds very arrogant, but it's, if you know me, it's not. I just think it's fun to go through these shows, and now I'm like watching Mando on the couch with Banana, and I'm like just blurting out my reaction as we watch. And I don't know, I think it's fun to watch these reactions and see people reacting the way you've reacted at things, and or you're like, how are they not reacting that? But there's these things called copyright laws that are just keeping us from really launching this thing. It's more of trying to get around the copyright laws or trademark laws or whatever they're called. And we will launch that soon. But we've got a family of shows here on the Nerd Rundown.
Right.
And Erik has an image he's going to throw up here to kind of give you an idea of what the show has become, or what the Nerd Rundown has become, which hopefully this is only the beginning. We'd love to see this thing grow like crazy. And so we're just doing some new things with it. And even with our release schedule, we're trying new things. We've seen some really good engagement and downloads and views. Releasing it at separate times, or Everything Everywhere All at Once was released on a Sunday, and it actually got some good traction early on. So what we envision is the rundown will be the staple, and it's the thing you'll get every week, because there's news every week.
Yeah, for sure.
And trailers every week. Because trailers are its own category for me.
Absolutely.
But the recaps will come around when there's a big show on TV. If Erik has another show that he wants to recap as well, please do, because it's awesome. The presents will be something that we could record 700 of them at a time and bank some and just release them periodically, or maybe like on a Thursday, so we have some other stuff throughout the week.
Right.
And then the reactions, we'll start with when we get this launched, it's going to be, reacting to trailers and reacting to TV shows, but I'd like to react to movies I haven't seen. I just wish I really could have watched Galaxy Quest as a reaction and see how I would have gone from, what the heck is this to this is amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, lots of good stuff coming here on under the Nerd Rundown banner. So
yeah. Yep, we're looking forward to it. Looking forward to it for sure.
Well, let's get to that staple of a show that we have every week called The Rundown.
The Rundown.
Oh man, that's a throwback right there. All right, so we're going to start with some MCU news. The biggest piece of news that came out over the past week, Erik, was the Marvels teaser trailer starring Brie Larson, Teyonah Parris, and their name just escapes me, but it is the story of Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel from the TV show, which I watched last year, and I was surprised.
Yeah.
I had low expectations, and so that helped.
Iman Vellani.
Iman Vellani, thank you. Who is maybe my new favorite MCU actress. Like, she's charismatic as you can get.
She carries this
amazing
trailer. I can tell you, she puts this trailer on her back and she carries the whole thing. Even with Samuel Jackson, I'm like, you know.
I mean, go ahead, keep going, because that's as big of a point as you could, or maybe the best point you can make.
I mean, Brie Larson looks like she looks like in her interviews after, like Endgame and stuff like that, or where it was like
Chris Hemsworth was trying so
like
hard.
She just wants to be any place else than where she's at, and that's kind of the way her character acts in this movie, so, or in this trailer at least. So I don't know. I'm unenthusiastic. I was unimpressed with the trailer. I'm unenthusiastic about it. Yeah, like you said, Iman
Vellani.
I can see why she is your new favorite, because she is adorable, and she's she, like I said, she does kind of steal this trailer and kind of make it her own. So I think if there's a future for the Marvels or whatever, it's gonna be this girl's. She's gonna have to. And what's funny is that was when they did the Miss Marvel show, because she had never done anything, and I think that a lot of people were like, "Oh, she's the weak link in this," and I don't think that ended up being the case. Her performances were not the problem with Miss Marvel, it lied in other places.
It had a middle. It started really strong. The middle really was like, ooh, and then fairly good ending.
Yeah, finished stronger. So
stronger, yeah.
Like I said, unimpressed. I mean, this movie is like 2 years delayed. Like a year and a half, delayed. 18 months, and not COVID related. Like, these are not COVID related delays. These are,
at least
we've had to reshoot and do some other stuff. And it's, I don't know. I don't think this one's going to be well received, but it's November 10th. So we still got a long ways to go. So maybe we'll see another trailer later that kind of changes my mind. But right now, I'm not looking good for Marvel. They've got the Guardians coming out in May, and then after that, it's slim pickings for a little bit. So
I mean, there's a theme going on with the MCU right now, and whether it's fatigue or it really is just not good products, either way, it's not going Marvel's way, and they're not used to that. It's like a heavyweight fighter. It's finally, what's the line from Iron Man 2 when he's when Whiplash, Vanko, what was his name? Anton Vanko? That was his dad.
Yeah.
He said, if you can make God bleed, then people will cease to believe.
Yeah.
Which is, that's ironic in itself that was a Marvel villain saying that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening. And it's, it's sad. It's really sad.
There will be blood in the water, and the sharks will come. Ivan Vanko is
Ivan Vanko. Thank you. Yeah. Anton is his dad. So Kevin Feige has an uphill battle here, and he may be, looking in the mirror at his own process right now. As next on the rundown, it's been reported that Kevin Feige is going to start looking for some more seasoned directors to come into the MCU. So, good. I like, it's the Feigster. He's gonna find a way to right the ship. Yeah. Yep. What do you think about that news, Erik?
I think it's a smart move. I think up to this point we've all been spoiled with who we've brought in, and for the most part they've been pretty successful with whoever they brought in. I mean, I think the Iron Man movie started it off, and I think that one was way more successful than they could have imagined. They had an idea of what they had, but I think I don't think they really knew what they had until it came out, and then it was like, oh my gosh, this is really, really good. But, that one was helmed by a pretty good director in John Favreau,
Yeah.
and you put it in capable hands. He's only done a couple of things. Like, he did that small Christmas movie called Elf. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's fairly popular.
Only in Iceland and like Finland and Norway and Sweden, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Where elves actually are, I think.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but he did that, and I don't think he had directed much else at that point, though. Definitely no big action stuff.
No, for sure, he had not done a big time action movie or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, he did that. He did Iron Man 2. I think he'd done. Did he direct Swingers, or he was just in Swingers? I can't remember if he.
I don't think he was in the directing portion of his career by then.
Yeah,
because that was like mid-90s, right?
Yeah.
I think Elf was his first, actually.
Yeah, but
his directorial debut.
Yeah. I mean, but all in all, they've been really lucky with who they got to put in the director's chair. I think kind of early on with a lot of the different franchises. Even they've had some trouble with some directors and things. I think Ryan Coogler was a steal. That first Black Panther movie was just amazing, and he's gone on. He's a pretty consistently good director. He's put out some good products and stuff like that.
He's a good storyteller for sure.
He is for sure.
He's the writer of those. He writes the movies he directs, so
yeah,
got a good flow.
Yeah.
So when you think seasoned director, who's a seasoned director that you'd like to see direct an MCU movie?
Well,
I mean, I think seasoned director, my mind obviously immediately goes to like Nolan and Spielberg. I mean, those are really seasoned.
I could tell you, wow.
I don't think that would
Neither
work.
one of those guys are going to do that. Nolan for sure won't do it because he's just not a CGI guy. That's not his thing. And the MCU,
unless Feige's like, what do you need? What do you want?
Yeah. Well, unless he wants to do a character that doesn't do the CGI stuff, doesn't require CGI for every single scene, So,
like, do you have a Batman kind of
right?
character?
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't really have anybody off the top of my head right now that I can think of, because a lot of the directors have kind of crapped on like the really seasoned, the old names that are out there, really kind of crapped on the genre itself and been like, these aren't movies. This isn't cinema. I think that's the big critique from the snotty directors, and I'm not saying that they're not, guys that don't know what they're doing, I mean, we're talking, Scorsese, he doesn't think that those are, he's a phenomenal director, but he doesn't think, I'd like to see, if anybody, although it doesn't fit inside his, I know he's been rumored for a Star Trek movie, which I think would be glorious, but Quentin Tarantino would be like to do something, something, and I could see, I honestly could see Tarantino doing a film like, I know this is a DC property, but like a Suicide Squad, like I could see him doing a Suicide Squad type thing, and it would be like, yeah, that's awesome, that's that would be cool. But
I would be down for that.
Yeah,
I mean, because you think like, okay, there's going to be a lot of people that would have to die in the movie at their hands. So
but I think that they'll probably pull seasoned directors from like TV shows if they're going to do anything. I mean, there's film. I think what Feige's
I've already done that with Shackman.
Yeah,
Matt Shackman.
I think what we're talking about here is not so much seasoned directors from a from a perspective of I only want guys who have 25 films under their belts or anything like
Sure,
that.
sure.
I think what he's looking for is people that can, again, we've talked about this before. Here's your box to play in. I need you to stay inside this box, and but I need you to be as creative.
A little more.
Yeah, I need you to be as creative as you possibly can inside that box. Well, and I think that's been a problem, is that we've gotten maybe people who have taken too many liberties with, you know, what they're doing. I think probably what shattered them the most was the Chloe Zhao. I think that really hurt them, because they really expected big things from the Eternals. You know, I think they were expecting some big stuff from that movie, and to have such an artsy type person like her, you know, Academy Award winner, come in, that she would be able to knock it out. But frankly, she's not that seasoned of a director. You know, she hit pay dirt with, you know, she hit pay dirt with the movie that she made, but it's an artsy movie. It's not a superhero movie, you know, and
like 3 people.
yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, well, maybe I need to stick with seasoned directors, if you will, inside the genre, you know, inside the superhero genre, that know how to make those types of movies. But I don't know, you know, we're probably, what's his name's, his name is mud when it comes to doing any of those other, but Joss Whedon, like, there's no way he would get a job with anybody anymore on that stuff.
I got a name for you. What about Peter Berg?
Well, if he's got to make sure that Mark Wahlberg and what's his name are available, Taylor Kitsch, you know, he's got to make sure those 2 guys are available. But yeah, I could see him doing it. I really could. He's a terrific director, and frankly, I
great action director.
Love all of his stuff. Yeah, I love all of his stuff. You know, I mean,
he's like a modern day Tony Scott.
Yeah. And again, not an artsy type guy. He's a nuts and bolts action dude. You know, that's what you're gonna get, you know, from him, and you're gonna love it.
Suspense, yeah. It's gonna. They're very good at suspense.
I mean, I would go back to, I wouldn't say it's artsy. I guess maybe it's the cinematographer in that movie, but The Kingdom, The Kingdom was a well shot, well directed, well acted movie, and it's probably Peter Berg's best. It might be his best movie, you know, like all the way around. I think if we wanted to do a show on Peter Berg, I would probably say
we definitely need to do a show on Peter Berg.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I just think
that's a really good debate right there.
Yeah,
really, really good debate. Oh gosh, I mean that's a hard. I can't even. I mean his gosh, what was that firefighter movie?
The
in the mountains with the mountain fire.
Was that Peter Berg?
Was that Peter Berg? That wasn't Peter Berg?
I don't think so. I think that was the guy that did Top Gun Maverick. I think.
Oh, Joseph Kosinski.
Yeah, Joseph Kosinski did that one. That's
okay.
You're thinking about Only the Brave.
Only the Brave.
Yeah. Great movie though.
Oh my gosh. Talking about
that's another guy. Could you get Joseph Kosinski? Because
there you go. He's hot right now.
Yeah, because could you get him to come in, because he's done Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
And he did talk about a really heavy special effects laden movie.
Sci-fi movie.
Tron. He did the Tron Legacy movie, which visually is spectacular. And then he also did I think the Tom Cruise one.
Tom Cruise one.
Oblivion.
Oblivion.
He did Oblivion.
I always get that confused with Elysium.
Yeah. I can see where you
Oblivion.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, I mean, just
Tom Cruise sci-fi.
Tom Cruise sci-fi with a side with a garnish of Morgan Freeman. So you can't go wrong with that.
You cannot go wrong with that. Gosh, now I just had to go look at Lone Survivor. Gosh.
Yeah. Just terrific.
Yeah, we'll have to dig into that at some point.
Yeah, we should put him on the list of Patriots Day, which we just celebrated the anniversary of that today, I think, right? Is that today?
On a Monday? Yes.
Because today was the Boston Marathon.
Yeah.
As we record this show,
right.
today was the Boston Marathon. So today is the 10th anniversary of the
I mean, the dude did Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Enough said. He did both the show and he directed the movie, but he helped create the show.
Yeah. Speaking of that, did you watch Ballers? Did you watch the show Ballers with DJ?
I didn't. Should I?
It's good.
I'll watch it when you watch Severance.
It's got a terrific cast. DJ's in it. John David Washington is in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he
hasn't done anything since Tenet.
He's got something.
Wait,
he's got something in the works right now. I think.
John David Washington.
Yeah, he did Tenet.
Tenet, yeah.
I heard up for something here pretty soon. I read something about it and I can't think of it. I'll have to dig it up and we'll have to talk about
it. I didn't put it on here, but it's worth a mention that it's not looking good for Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
And this is another hurdle that Feige has to jump over, and they may be looking to recast him.
Yeah, they're looking to recast Kane, which is it's pretty terrible, man. I mean, it's pretty terrible. I hate what's happened to him. I hate the situation that he's in. I hate, I'm hoping that whatever the justice, I want justice to be served. That's all I want. Whether it's for the victim or whether it's for him, I'm not sure which one, is in the situation, but I have enjoyed his work to this point. He seems to.
Yeah, I hope he's innocent.
I do too.
It's not looking good for him. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Let's move on to some more positive news. I think.
Yeah.
The next category on the rundown is called spinoffs. So a couple spinoffs came out or news about spinoffs came out over the past week. First is a Stranger Things animated spinoff in the vein of Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
Very important piece there that I added in because go watch our Saturday morning cartoon show that we released about a year and a half ago. Really good.
Yeah. It was you and Morgan, wasn't it?
It was Brett King and I.
Oh, Brett King. That's right.
Brett King sent in a NRDbox question. I got to put it on here. I'll put it on here in a second.
All right.
So a little tie in there. But yes, please, more Saturday morning cartoons in my life. One more season of Stranger Things and then that's done. But this spinoff, there's not a lot of details about the spinoff when it's taking place. But man, this show, in the vein of Saturday morning cartoons, does this show not miss, or I don't know if that made sense, but the nostalgia of the 80s in this show is perfect. And now you're throwing in a Saturday morning cartoon spinoff. Yes, please.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think it's pretty memorable what my stance is on animation stuff. I'm not really into it, but but I do love me some Saturday morning cartoons. I wish, that was one thing that I miss. One thing I remember, my dad and I used to get up on Saturday mornings, we had breakfast and watch Saturday morning cartoons. You watch some Looney Tunes, you watched all kinds of stuff. There was all good stuff on Saturday morning, Tom and Jerry, all that good stuff. So yeah.
I mean, my Saturday morning cartoons were, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Later on, as I got a little bit older, X-Men, and those are just some of my most favorite things in this world.
Yeah.
And seeing Mario, which will tie into the NRDbox question later, seeing Mario just gave me so much nostalgia for that time, as well, like the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
I was just like, ooh, feeling good about this time right now. So excited about that. And then the other spinoff that was announced is out of the Game of Thrones universe. So no word about the Jon Snow spinoff, it sounded like that was like the next show after
Right.
House of the Dragon. Doesn't sound like that after they announced the Aegon the Conqueror conquering Westeros
Yeah.
spinoff a couple of weeks ago. I think we talked about that. And then now a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which is the Dunk and Egg tale.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's like one word almost. Dunk, short for Sir Duncan the Tall, one of the greatest warriors in the history of Westeros. Like on par with the Mountain and
The Hound.
the Hound. Thank you. I was like the dog. No, the Hound. But he's a big dude. In fact, Brienne of Tarth is actually a descendant of Sir Duncan the Tall.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then there's Egg, which is short for Aegon, of course.
His squire.
He's a squire. And well, something you may not know about this guy is he's part of the Targaryen family.
Yeah.
And so
just happens to be, king's blood, but whatever.
when you get named Aegon, it's like you definitely gonna have some king's blood in you. So Egg also being the brother of Sir Aemond Targaryen of the Night's Watch, the blind guy.
Yep.
So this takes place about 100 or so, maybe 75 to 100 years before Robert's Rebellion, or I think maybe more so before our Game of Thrones time. And then, Robert's Rebellion was 20 years prior to the Game of Thrones show.
Right.
Let me read you the tagline real quick and then get your thoughts on this. A century before the century. Okay. Boom. A century before the events of Game of Thrones, two unlikely heroes wandered Westeros. A young, naive, but courageous knight, Sir Duncan the Tall, and his diminutive squire, Egg. Set in an age when the Targaryen line, spoiler alert, still holds the Iron Throne and the memory of the last dragon has not yet passed. I feel like Galadriel just now. Has not yet passed from living memory. Great destinies, powerful foes, and dangerous exploits all await these improbable, incomparable friends. It's a really good tale. I actually have not read it, even though I just said it's good. I know it's good because of people I trust who have read it and are, say it's some of the best that George R.R. Martin has put out. So,
okay.
Looking forward to this. What do you think, Erik?
Yeah, I to kind of circle back to what you were saying earlier about the Jon Snow one. We've heard about Dunk and Egg for a while. This is something that they've talked about for a while, and I think they were dipping their toe in the water with the House of the Dragon to see whether the fans would come back for it, and they did, and so I think that green lighted stuff that they already had in the can, as far as not filmed and shot, but scripts ready to go and stuff, pre-production stuff kind of already moving forward. So I think with the Dunk and Egg, the Jon Snow stuff came out of left field for them. That's
a good point.
That I think that came out of left field, and I think all of the buzz around it, they were like, whoa. There's a big appetite for Jon Snow stuff. So I think they maybe have pumped the brakes on that one, and to kind of, light a fire under the House of Dragon. Like, you guys need to get season 2 going and moving forward. We're going to green light these other 2 projects for sure and start getting them put some stuff going. And so I would not be surprised if the Jon Snow stuff comes as well, because that, you really want to start and kind of strike while the iron's hot, if you will. And I think they're looking at, okay, we've got these other things already. We want to do the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and so I think
that's a really, really good point, because this was always kind of their plan, was to expand Westeros,
right?
But then season 8 happened, and they're like, pump the brakes, and let's get some other stuff flowing through, and people can have some distance there. But now the House of Dragon is reignited the flame.
Right.
You're right. They're like, we got some stuff that's pretty good into development here
Right.
that we don't have to build the foundation that's
Right.
already built.
Right. With snow
to use
right
a housing
now.
term.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, and with the Jon Snow stuff, like I said, that idea from Kit Harington kind of came out of left field, and so it takes a while to develop that idea and kind of put it out there, and so and build it up. Whereas I think these other two projects that they had were kind of already, like I said, in pre-development, or they had an idea that this is something they may want to do. So yeah, frankly, I'm looking forward to it because I like this. I like this world. I like the Game of Thrones world. I actually really liked. We've talked about House of the Dragon. I really liked it. I really I liked. I liked all the dragons. For sure. Yeah, it really was. And there wasn't much fantasy, if you will, in this. It was just more like kind of knights of the medieval times, with the exception of the gigantic dragons.
It's like, yeah, there wasn't like a bunch of witches and ice zombies. I get what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Listen, dragons were real according to some people. So
hey, you know what? If you live, if you're on TikTok and you're a big, CCP person over in China, that they have.
They love their dragons.
Dragons are pretty big in their lore, and so it would not surprise me if somewhere in the past there was some sort of dragon-esque creature that existed in that.
Dinosaurs.
Probably dinosaurs. One that hang around for a little bit longer. So
there's gotta be a fire-breathing dinosaur.
That'd be so cool.
That'd be so cool. So yeah, excited. I do know what happens in the book, and so I'm a little bit spoiled in that sense, but I think this is something that maybe I could easily get through once I learn how to read.
It's
how that goes.
Group words together as a sentence.
From spinoffs to reboots, Erik, I know your favorite category. RoboCop and Stargate, among many reboots in the works over at Amazon, as they recently bought out MGM Studios for $1 billion.
Yeah.
And now have some a litany of great properties to build off of. And they want to look at potential franchise. So RoboCop and Stargate came up, but before I pass it off to you to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Thomas Crown Affair is up for a reboot, and I would like to see a modern day retelling of Thomas Crown Affair, which is really hard for me to say because I love the Pierce Brosnan Thomas Crown Affair.
So this would be
Rene Russo reasons.
Yeah, I was going to say at least 2 Rene Russo reasons that I can think of. Yeah, maybe. Actually 3. There's 3. Or 4. I guess there's 4 because there's
a lot in that movie.
Yeah,
there's just her power in that movie.
Gosh, she's
awesome.
Terrific. Well, and again, just 2 of the most charming people on the face of the planet.
Yeah. Pierce
Rene
Brosnan
Russo and Pierce Brosnan.
Prime.
Like, oh my gosh, like they just were the sexiest people ever. Like that, and then to have
Pierce Brosnan is he's a handsome man.
To have Dennis Leary in there too.
He was such a weird addition to that movie, but he really
so
brought
good.
all the humor.
Yeah. He's good in whatever he does, but so that would actually be the 3rd iteration of the Thomas Crown Affair.
Yep.
Because the first one was made, I think, back in the 60s. And that one starred, I can't think of what her name is, but she actually plays his therapist.
Oh yeah.
No,
not Zsa Zsa. I'll look it up.
Yeah, and then I think the other one, the guy in that one was the dude from Bullet, right? Steve McQueen.
Yeah,
it was Steve McQueen, I think, that did the Thomas Crown. I have to look that up, but the original
Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway.
Faye Dunaway, yeah. So, okay,
you want to dance, or do you want to dance?
Yeah. So my thoughts on this are I'm actually all for both of these. I never got into this TV show, but the first Stargate movie was the Stargate movie with James Spader and oh my gosh, that movie was so good. It was so much fun.
Yeah. I always get it confused with Starship Troopers, and I don't know why, but just similar time periods, I think.
Well, it was so neat how they meshed the pyramids with space travel and stuff and all that, and I just
with aliens.
yeah, it was just really neat. It was really, really cool. It was a great concept, and having it be a gate, and all that stuff was just really, really brilliant.
Yeah.
So you didn't have a lot of ships or spaceships or anything like that, but you just moved through these portals, and I just thought it was really, really cool. And all the way around, I know that it gets a lot of hate, but like the 2014 reboot of RoboCop, I actually didn't mind that movie all that much. Like, it wasn't great, but there were some good elements in that movie that I really did like. It just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't flow as well as it could have. I think the part was like the first act just didn't work, I think. And and that's hard. It's hard for a second and third act to overcome a first act that just doesn't function properly.
Right.
But the original one, the original RoboCop is just amazing.
Amazing.
Paul Verhoeven, I think, directed that.
Verhoeven,
just a super cool movie. The special effects in that did not age well at all, but
no.
But yeah, the ED-209,
it's just like, it's kind of like this, like, I can't imagine that movie having good effect. Like, if they redid it and it would have better, I'm like, no.
It's Dead or Alive, you're coming with me,
Yeah.
It's just man, RoboCop was good. So I'm okay with both these kind of coming back. I would like to see, and with
I need a grungy Detroit though. Like, I need a super grungy Detroit if they're gonna reboot it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they'll relocate because it's not. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully they'll stick in Detroit. Yeah, hopefully they'll stick with Detroit, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. So, but
maybe like a Blade Runner-y type vibe to like a new future one.
Right. Yeah. Well, what? How about you? What do you think? Because being younger,
I am.
What did you think of RoboCop, and then also Stargate? I guess.
Yeah, I loved RoboCop. I can't tell you when I watched it, or how old I was. I probably was not supposed to be watching it. But right. It was the 80s and 90s, different time. But I remember watching Stargate, and I remember really liking it. I think I was about 9 or 10, maybe.
Sorry.
And so I remember that movie sticking with me, and it being like one of the first sci-fi movies I ever watched, actually. Yeah. And then the TV show, I didn't ever watch the TV show, but people, there's some Stargate nerds out there.
Yeah. Well, and we had MacGyver. MacGyver was the star of it. But there was a huge Stargate following, and they even had, I want to say, like a couple spin-offs too. They had like Stargate, and then they had like Stargate.
Yeah, but it didn't do as well as the original.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so.
The original, before, this golden age of TV that we're in, I would say pre-2010s, Stargate was heralded as like one of the top shows of all time, of not just like nerd shows, but like of like real shows.
Yeah. Well, and it was 97,
97,
so it came out in 97, so it was
12, 13.
Yep. So it Stargate SG-1.
I mean, I was 25.
Yeah. But it ran for 10 years. It ran from 97 to 07,
Yeah. I think the finale is like one of the people love the finale. It's not like a Lost situation where people are divided.
Yeah.
So I could see a lot of potential in those. I could see a potential in Thomas Crown Affair being like a national treasure type deal, or or just like a. What I don't want to see them do is turn Thomas Crown Affair into like, like starts out as a small thief and then he's in space, stealing the moon or something.
Right.
They don't need to escalate it like Fast and Furious, but there's some really cool potential for some like heisty, like give it. Where's all the good heist movies these days?
Yeah.
Love
for
a
sure.
good heist movie. Oof.
They're what's the one with the Mini Coopers?
The Italian Job.
Yeah, the Italian Job. That was terrific.
Mark Wahlberg and Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the most gorgeous women of all time. Anyway, a lot of potential over there for Amazon to.
You got a lot of properties. MGM owns a lot of stuff. Yeah, MGM owns a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of a rich history. We'll just say that. So
here's some of the other ones real quick. Legally Blonde. Obviously, that would be a good franchise to reboot and bring into the more modern age. Fame, I don't know that. Barbershop, Magnificent Seven. Pink Panther has franchise potential.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Thomas Crown Affair. Sure. So lots of potential.
Yeah.
Also, lots of potential for the next piece. DC Studios' first big animated feature, The Creature Commandos. Their voice cast has been revealed. And why this is a big deal is because James Gunn has made it known that if you voice in animation, you are also that character in live action. And so they revealed that Frank Grillo, who you may know as Crossbones from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he was in Winter Soldier and died tragically in Civil War. Great tough guy,
Well, he was
just one of the best tough guys.
Before he became Crossbones, though, he was what was his name he was like basically Captain's right hand guy, Rumolo, wasn't his name Remolo or something like that? Or
Rumlow is
Rumlow.
That's his character's name.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking like when in Winter Soldier.
In Winter Soldier, he's like Cap's go-to guy, like Cap.
Yeah,
really kind of
he's like a head of the strike team, and Cap works with the strike team. Yeah. And that's it's one of my all-time favorite scenes is when they're flying over the water and they're doing the debrief right there on the TV, and it's really good chemistry between them too. Well, and it makes it even more tragic when they are.
It's the betrayal. Yeah, it's that betrayal in the elevator that just what a great scene. But even they do the briefing. He's talking to ScarJo about, if you ask what's her name from statistics out, she'd probably say yes, and he says that's why I don't ask. And then she goes too shy. He says no, too busy. And then he just jumps out of the back of the thing. And the other dude looks.
But he's all like laxative.
Yeah, he just flops out of the back of the thing, and the other dude looks at Rumolo and goes, "Did he have a parachute on?" And he goes, "No,
nope.
No."
Captain America. It was the first time he had his own first Avenger movie, which was great.
Yeah.
Which was good. Really, really good.
It was all right.
And then he was in the Avengers and really overshadowed in that. And the Russo brothers, and actually I was going to make this point in the Feige piece, is, they brought him into the modern age, and they were like, we have to show why Cap leads the Avengers.
Yeah.
And they did it in about 5 minutes tops. Like, first of all, he's running around,
run around DC on the boat, yeah.
And then they drop him onto the boat, and that first time he kicked that dude over the ledge, oh my gosh! Yeah. I was in the movie theater. I was as happy as I've ever been. But then you get to the elevator scene.
Yeah, that's still probably my favorite. I mean, I like.
That's the best MCU scene. Well, picking up Thor's hammer is probably my favorite, but
yeah,
that's just a big payoff.
But overall, Winter Soldier might be my favorite of all, before you get to like end game, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like of all, I love Iron Man 1, but just because I like that first story.
Yeah.
But I come back to the Winter Soldier.
It's the most
all
rewatchable,
the time.
for sure.
It's one I rewatch whenever I demo like the theater. A lot of the times I'll start off with that.
That's what I demo.
I even
my
started
theater.
from the beginning because it's like, have him running around and he's talking with and then that scene where he's like, she looks at him and she goes, see you around. And he goes, and he looks at Sam and he says, you can't run everywhere, and he goes, no, you can't. And then she just blasts off in that Corvette, man. She just takes off, and it's pretty great,
Yeah. You guys seen you guys know where the Smithsonian is?
Yeah, you're gonna pick up a fossil. Yeah. Anyhow, back to, because we're talking about DC stuff. We need to get back to DC stuff. But yes, Frank Grillo, he's terrific, like terrific. So I'm really excited that he's gonna be.
I know you're not the biggest animated guy, but it was really more about seeing who could be brought into live action, and you could tell. I think that's James Gunn being like, should have kept the same voice actors for What If, because they had that plan, and then they backed out of it. Now DC's like, yeah, we're gonna do that.
We're gonna go with that. Yep,
that's what people want.
Yeah,
and I love it.
Yep, for sure.
Let's move to the trailer train, and we're going to start off with.
Well, I do want to throw one other name out there real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
That's on this Creature Commandos thing. So,
I'm looking forward to. I did mean to read off the cast list. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, the one, I mean, the one I'm most excited for is Alan Tudyk as Dr. Phosphorus. Like, I don't even know what that is. I don't know what Dr. Phosphorus is, but if it's Alan's going to be in it, it's going to be great. But then David Harbour's going to be.
I don't know who most of these people are.
Eric Frankenstein? I don't
know these DC characters very well, but I like this lineup for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
Alan
I think,
Tudyk.
What's the isn't the what's the
Steve Agee is reprising his Peacemaker role as John Economist.
Yes,
just like one of the coolest names,
for
John
sure.
Economist.
But what's the one that's in the Peacemaker, or not the Peacemaker, but the Weasel? Like, isn't it the
that's
the
Sean Gunn.
Yeah, Sean Gunn. That's right.
That's his brother, who's also playing GI Robot. I don't know who that is, but he's probably just like, he actually he does the mocap for Rocket.
Yeah. Yep.
So he actually gets like double credit as Kraglin and as the mocap, but he's
going to be GI Robot and Weasel
and Weasel,
so he's going to be doing two. He's going to do. James is like, hey brother, listen, I got a job for you. So I got 2 jobs for you. You have to do double duty, and I'm not paying you extra. So
okay. Whatever you want, James, because without you, I've got nothing.
Right.
Although he's really great on his own. I'm surprised he doesn't do more on his own. Sean Gunn.
I know I've talked about this. There was this. I've talked about it. I know you're not a Bryan. I know, and for rightfully so, Bryan Singer deal. But he did a YouTube series called H+.
I know you don't like pedophiles for good reason.
Yeah, for good reason you don't like them, but he did a show on YouTube like early on called H+ Nano or something like that, and it was like a 10-part series. Each episode was like, I don't know, 10 minutes long or something like that. And Sean Gunn was one of the main guys in it, and I've always remembered him from that. Like, I don't remember any of the other actors, I don't think, but I always remember Sean Gunn's performance in it because it was just. He was dynamite in it. It was really, really cool because he played like this, not paraplegic, but I think he was paralyzed from the waist down. I think so. It wasn't quadriplegic. I think it was just paraplegic. But anyhow, it was cool. It was a cool series, the H+ digital series. It was a neat, and it's a really neat idea that basically way ahead of its time. That this thing took place like 10 years ago, but basically people had a implant put into their brains, and they were always connected to the internet. And then one day somebody hacks these implants, and if you were on the network, you died. And so all the world basically just like goes away, and only people who were like I think
grandpas.
I think the original part is like there's these people that were in a parking garage. They just happened to be at the bottom of a parking garage, and they were disconnected from the network at the time, and so it just happened. And people that were standing at the end of the parking garage aisle, you could see them, and they all just kind of dropped. And it was cool. It was an interesting thing. H plus is what it was called. But man, but like I said, Gunn was so good in that. He was so good.
Yeah. Well, he had a little itty bitty cameo in The Terminal List.
That's right. He did. Yeah. He played, well, his character in the book is much bigger than, than he is in the, he has a much bigger role in it, but yeah, he was really good in The Terminal List also, just for a small role, but yeah. Sorry, I almost skipped that. I didn't mean to. I really meant to talk about that voice cast, because it's really strong. It is.
And I like that they would bring them in as a live action character. So
I agree.
Because Frank Grillo is playing Rick Flag Sr., who is Joel Kinnaman. There's a lot of like crossing the streams in this rundown. Joel Kinnaman, who was in RoboCop, reboot.
Yep. The 2014 reboot. Yep.
He's playing Rick Flag Sr., his dad. So pretty cool. All right. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Rewind. Forward to the trailer train, starting off with a trailer called Bup Kiss, which
for a show.
Is it a show? It is a show. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's on Peacock, right?
Yep.
Starring the luckiest man in the world.
You have to carry this one. Carry this one.
I mean, listen, I really I don't mind Pete Davidson. Okay. I liked his Long Island movie he did. I forget what it was called. King of Staten Island or something. It's King of Long Island, Staten Island. I think it's Staten Island.
Yeah.
That had Bill Burr in it. It was actually really good and pretty funny. I don't understand why people are obsessed with Pete Davidson, but
I know what the women are, but
well, you've heard. But it has a really strong supporting cast. It is Edie Falco, who you would know from Nurse Jackie and The Sopranos. Joe Pesci looks to be playing, I don't know if it's his dad or just his mentor, but it looks like he's putting in a strong performance. A guy who is always funny, Bobby Cannavale, who you would know from the Ant-Man movies, is like, he's the guy that like marries his ex-wife, and they're like really good buddies, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But it's a show about Pete Davidson plays Pete Davidson.
Yep.
And I don't know, it looks like it could be a compelling, funny show. I've got no ill will towards him. I'm not, a little jealous of the guy, but I mean, get your bag where you're winning where you can.
Yeah.
And he does it. So go watch the trailer for Bup Kiss, BUPKIS.
Yep.
And decide for yourself. That's what you should do every time. Actually, every trailer we talk about, you should go and watch it and decide for yourself.
See if it's for you.
This one, you'll have to carry because it's an immediate nope for me. The Last Voyage, the Demeter. Go ahead, Erik.
Yeah, this one looked. I thought it looked pretty interesting. It's basically the tale of how Dracula's body gets moved from Transylvania, basically, to London, and wouldn't you know it, the folks that are on that boat don't all make it back to port. So I think he probably runs out things to eat right as we're sailing in. So, but we'll see. I would say spoiler alert on that one. But
this girl got saved. It's just as it rolls up.
Yeah.
I that's my question. Is like, why does he not eat everybody? All like
he's got to pace
nobody.
himself. He's got to pace himself. So.
Thanks,
I think I don't know if he has to feed every night or whatever, but yeah, I mean, it looks a little terrifying because, when you're on a boat in the middle of the night, out in the middle of the ocean like that, there's, especially during the time period that it takes place, even nowadays, you're out there all by yourself and there's not a lot of things that can kind of help you. So yeah, I thought it looked pretty interesting. I really did.
Why is he on a boat though?
Well, I don't know that they have the cross-country railroad at that time.
But he has wings. He flies.
Well, not if you want to like move all your stuff like with you. So, which is what it is. It's like all of his. It's not just his.
Where do you get these moving guys?
Yeah, right. Well, he'll hire 1-800.
He doesn't have what's it called? 2 brothers in a truck or something.
Yeah, two guys in a truck. Yeah, so, yeah. I don't think back in those days they had that stuff, but
hey, you want to move Dracula's body? It's gonna be fine. You guys are gonna be fine.
It'll be fine, but two of our favorite actors are in this one, just so you know. So David Desmalkian is in it.
I thought I saw him in there.
We do love David around here. Just an incredible talent, and then also
never not amazes.
Yeah, right. And then of course, as we were talking about Game of Thrones earlier, Davos Seaworth himself, Liam Cunningham is looks like he's playing the captain of
that's Sir Davos Seaworth.
Sir Davos, yeah. Yep. So we do love him. So yeah,
great actor.
Yep. So
great Irish accent.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, right. and then we move on to the John, which you have seen. I have not. Which you have seen, not. But I'm going this week. I gotta. Well, I should probably rewind that. Bleep that out. Pull that back. After I asked my wife nicely, I hope to see that this week. So.
Can't you go at like 10 o'clock on a Thursday?
That's what I'm saying. I'm going to try to go at like a Thursday night. So, yep.
It's that would be, man, you're going to be exhausted if you that late.
Yeah, wait to see it.
My dad and I went at like 8:20, and after the movie, I was like, I need my bed now.
Yeah.
Because that wore me out. Yeah. Oh, man. There's a lot of killing in that movie. I don't know if this is a direct spinoff of John Wick 4 or whatnot. And I, now knowing I can't give away spoilers, there's something I can't talk about on this. So go out and watch the trailer. It's the Continental. It's a spinoff of the John Sniff. Not even the John Snow.
Don't sniff.
John Wick.
John Wick,
Baba Yaga.
Yeah. I think it's a prequel.
I think it is. I think it is.
It's early.
Maybe.
I think it's early in the Continental's days. But
really cool though. On John Wick 4, you get to see more than one Continental. Well, you get to see that in other John Wicks, but you get to see some cool ones in John Wick 4.
I bet.
Yeah. Okay. So go out and judge for yourself. And then lastly, we got a trailer for another spinoff from a really popular movie, The Batman. We got the first look at the Penguin series starring Colin Farrell in the Penguin. I mean, just amazing how he transforms into this character. What do you think of the trailer?
I loved it. I really did. I think we mentioned it when we talked about the Batman.
Yeah.
How impressed, and a lot of people had no idea that Colin Farrell was the Penguin. Like a lot of people just had.
If you didn't know, there's no way you know.
Yeah, there really isn't. He really was really, really good, and I think if you wanted to continue that story and to continue to see more Gotham, more of Matt Reeves's Gotham interpretation, which I liked right away because they kept the water, you know, like in that trailer they showed where the water, you know, was still really high in certain sections of town and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, man. So because that was another character, even though I remember watching, I think the Honest trailer or something was talking about how it rained like the entire movie or whatever, you know, but
every scene in Gotham, it's raining.
It's raining. Yeah. But I think that's one thing
never mentioned. Nobody ever talks about rain in the movie. It's really crazy how it's there, but it's not there.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting to me about, I think and this is just me kind of going off on a little mind break here, but
okay, we need those from time to time.
With the Marvel stuff, you know, you have all your characters and you have all that stuff, but with DC, one of the things that they have, I think that's maybe a little bit different than Marvel, is the cities that they're in themselves are actually a character also, you know. So by that I mean like Gotham and Metropolis are, you know, like when stuff happens there, it's also a character. So, and I think that's one of the cool things that you've seen with, if you go back to Tim Burton's Batman reimagining of Batman, his Gotham was really dark and really
had its own style.
Yeah, it had its own style. It had that architecture and all that stuff was feel. And then
everything a character has except for dialogue.
Exactly. And
really there was dialogue actually with the background.
There is, but the dialogue comes from the mayor. It comes from the people. It comes from the, you know, the people who make it up. That's the dialogue that is Gotham.
Commissioner Gordon.
Right, exactly. You know, and same thing with Nolan's version of Gotham. You know, you had Wayne Tower at the center of Gotham, and you know, as this city is dying, you know, as it's kind of falling apart, everything is nice and glass and beautiful here, but in the underbelly it's not. And then you go over to the Narrows and it's its own place too, you know. So anyhow,
maybe more so in Batman Begins, but I feel like it just didn't have it in the later.
Well, I think in the Dark Knight it was overshadowed. You don't notice it as much in the Dark Knight because of the performances by Heath Ledger and the rest of the cast.
Although I would say that the two boats at the end of TDK, that's really like Gotham there. That's Gotham speaking.
Yeah, and then the whole third movie is, you know, the whole city is basically held hostage. You know, so anyhow, I just kind of go off on tangents there, but Matt Reeves' version of Gotham is really great, and it's really dark and it's really seedy, and you know, and the opening sequence where he goes through like what, you know, you could, that narration that Robert Pattinson gives is, you know, you can see all the crime that's happening in the city and all that stuff. So I'm excited to see more of that Gotham. I'm also excited to see more of the Penguin character. I think I think it's only going to help anything further that they do with that Batman.
It's going to really help build the world.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope that it doesn't have a little bit of Mando in Boba Fett effect. You know, it's like, why are they putting this in a TV show?
Yeah.
It should have been in the movies.
Right.
I don't believe that's the way it will be, but I'm hoping that it's just maybe a little cynicalness there from me on this season of Mando.
Yeah, we'll see.
Although it just had one of the best episodes of Mando of all time, so can't wait for the finale this week.
I was gonna say season finale is Wednesday. Big week for season finales. Both the Star Wars and Star Trek have big finales this week. So Star Wars has their Mandalorian
Picard
one, and then Picard has its. And I gotta tell you, man.
For one quick second, I was like, does Star Wars have a finale?
Wow.
Picard that good, huh?
Picard is, this last episode, Picard was, they've brought everybody together, and I do mean everybody, including I'm not a spoiler for anybody that hasn't seen it, but again, we talk about things that are characters that maybe don't have the settings can be a character as well, and I'll just say that. So some really cool stuff. Really
Glad you're
cool
liking
stuff.
it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's a show that's been hurting me a little
The
bit.
first 2 seasons were extremely disappointing. So I'm not sure where they're going to go with things, but this 3rd season has really just kind of wiped the slate clean on anything that happened before and kind of pretended like none of that happened. And I'm okay with it. Like, I've been okay with it so far this season. So yeah, looking forward to that. That's wrapping up. And then I think in June, Strange New World starts season 2 of Strange New World.
Very excited for that.
Yeah. I'd love to hear you say that. That makes me so happy.
Yeah, I'm excited to say something like that. I am very, very excited to see where that goes.
Yeah.
All right, NRDbox time. Like I said earlier, Brett D. King sent in the question, and I love it because it gives us a little bit of an opportunity to talk about this incredible movie, the Super Mario Brothers. It's out in theaters right now, starring Chris Pratt, who does a phenomenal job in this movie. I feel like I never even thought about Chris Pratt in the role, so yeah, that helped.
Well, yeah, I thought, Chris Pratt was a little cagey about the voice early on. He was like, hey, I think once you see the movie, you're gonna feel different you're gonna understand where, because of how they did the trailer. And I thought it was really brilliant how they did the trailer with the voice and all that stuff, because it totally led you in a different direction. And and they really did. They did a great job of knocking the voice out of the park, and they even, it was so good. It was so good. And
we'll talk about it here in a second.
Yeah.
So Brett's question says, you all just saw Mario, because we all talk, obviously.
Yep.
I just saw Mario. So how about, what is your fondest memory of Super Mario Brothers? Love this question. I'll read his answer. He always gives really good emotional answers like this. Mine is, we were trying to beat Mario 3, but Dad only let us play a little every day, so we would turn the TV off, but not the NES.
Of course, yeah.
And we would hide the little red light with aluminum foil that the system sat on. Dad eventually saw it and turned it off, and we lost all progress, but it was one time all 3 brothers kept a secret together. Oh, I've heard that story several hundred times, and I love it every single time.
Yeah.
Because I always think about him and his brothers like putting the foil on the red light. Like, how do we get rid of this? So Erik, you have a most fond memory of the Super Mario Brothers franchise in any way?
I do. Just overall Nintendo, I have 2. I'll do one that's a Super Mario Brothers, which was, I think, the first time that I was actually able to get 100 lives.
Ooh.
When I finally was able to pull that off for the first time, and I was like, I'm gonna be able to win this. I'm gonna be able to win this game, and I finally did. I finally was able to get the 100 lives, and I was able to beat the game, and I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And same type of situation. I didn't have to hide it. I just straight up was like, Mom, I gotta leave this on, like, it's gotta stay on, so please don't turn it off, and all that stuff. And she's like, all right, but yeah, it was glorious. It really was,
I wonder we had to blow in the cartridges because
yeah,
just
right.
left them on.
Yeah, and then overall Nintendo, I think with my brother, he and I used to play Contra together. We did really well playing Contra together, and I think that was another one where you could up, down, left, right.
Oh, the famous
BA select start or something like that, and you're able to get all those lives on that. And my brother and I would play Contra together all the time. It was so much fun. So the Nintendo was a great. It was great. It was the early days of, you had like the early adopters were like the Atari folks, which I had an Atari, but the early adopters were those Atari folks and the ColecoVision and all that stuff, Commodore 64s, but NES was the mainstream. Like, that was like everybody and anybody had it. So yeah. If you haven't watched it, the 8-Bit Christmas will give you, if you if you couldn't experience it, it'll give you what that felt like, you know.
Yeah.
And if you were alive back then, it'll give you that that reminder. So
I love the line in the beginning. He goes, "I wanted a Nintendo more than you want a cell phone."
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
kids these days will not go around selling 75 wreaths for a phone. You know, that's just this is different. You know, we would go out and we would do whatever we needed to do.
Yep.
So mine somewhat similar is in a vein of Super Mario 3. Had the yellow, like the on the cartridge, yellow sticker with blue writing. And Super Mario 3 was my favorite growing up because of the suits that were introduced in that movie. And the Tanuki suit where you could fly. And just like getting an extra kind of like cool power from Mario was different and fresh for me. So I loved it. I do remember I remember Dad got us a Nintendo. I feel like I was like 5 in the apartments. We lived in the apartments, 5 or 6 maybe. So played lots of Mario when we got that. But I would also say my second is now more about Mario Kart, and that's the more adult game.
That. Yeah, I was just thinking that. I was just thinking to myself, you know, here I am. I'm telling this story about my childhood. You know, but I think, if anything, right now in this point in time in my life, the fact that I'm able to not just share but enjoy and love sharing Mario with my kids, you know, like we play Super Mario Brothers together, you know, the old Nintendo Super Mario Brothers. We play the Wii Super Mario Brothers, and when we went to see the movie, the kids were looking at me during the movie and they're like, "Oh, Dad, that's from Super Mario Odyssey." "Oh, Dad, that's from that's from Bowser's Fury," you know, and "Oh, that's from Luigi's Mansion," you know, and it just was so cool because it was really great. It was really great to be able to share that movie with them and to pass on. You know, yes, I love having my memories of Nintendo when I was a kid, but to be able to pass on that love and that affection for Mario to my kids and to experience it together, man, that's probably the best memory of all. And I just made that one. You know, that's pretty cool. So
yeah, that is cool. I mean, very similar. So I took the girls. I've been solo dadding it for a few days now, Morg, just to let you know.
Still showed up for the show. That's fine, whatever. So, although he did take Carson to see it, you know.
He did, yeah. I took Penny and I took Joey, and this was Joey's very first movie theater experience.
Oh, awesome!
And I'm just so jazzed about it. I love it. And I love that it was this movie, because this movie is pretty freaking magical. And it's like the way it pays respects and it's like a love letter to, you know, all Mario, not just like first Mario,
Donkey Kong,
like everything. I mean, Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong was such a huge surprise for me. I love how they incorporated his laugh. Like, it's it's just so good.
Yeah.
I at one point, I'm sitting on the far left. I look over, and of course, there's lots of kids in the theater, right?
Yeah.
And going in, I'm like, this is a lot of kids. You're gonna have at least 3 or 4 throw a tantrum. Every single kid was locked in.
Yep.
I looked over, and you know, there's kids in their seat just like this.
Yeah, for 90 minutes.
Oh, and then there's kids like hanging over the ledge like this.
Yep.
Joey like jumped up and got on my lap because she was like, ooh, you know, it's so good. And I'm really, really happy for Nintendo. I love their title card. You know, everybody's got to have a title card these days, and so Nintendo created a really good one where they punch the box together. Anyway, just was really, really great. Go see this movie. Go see Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, go see it for sure.
There's not any hidden messages. It's just straight fun. I mean, the way they went into 2D at times was so. I was like, oh, that's so cool.
It's neat,
and it didn't feel like cheap to do that.
Not at all.
The way they did it felt really good.
Yep.
The only thing that didn't work for me was Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong. I was like, oh, I think he could have went with a different direction there. But either way, love that movie. Great question, Brett. I thought about trying to do presents around it, but it is hard to make, wait for everybody to see it. I feel like we all have seen it, so maybe we can do it
right
at some point soon.
Yeah.
It's going to be $1 billion movie. It's going to be a big movie. Can't wait for the sequel with Yoshi. So,
yeah.
All right. What did we say? We'll still manage to talk for 90 minutes.
Yep. We're at 80.
We're doing good over here.
Yep.
Let me stretch out here a little bit. So we got a lot of good stuff coming up under the Nerd Rundown banner. Very, very excited for some of that stuff. We will keep you all in the loop. One thing coming soon is a kind of relaunch presents, and keep an eye out for that to come soon. We've got some really good stuff planned for it.
Yep.
I can't wait to show you what we have for that coming up. Hopefully over the next week or so. Some really great Jason Sparks stuff coming your way.
Oh man, yeah, for sure.
Man, MCU's worrying me a little, Eric. I don't know. We'll
I think the Guardians will right the ship, at least for that one. At least for that one, it's gonna.
My whole it's like No Way Home. It was like we needed a home run, we got it, and it satisfied us for a little bit. So hopefully that Guardians does it too. So all right, my man, I appreciate you always. Thank you for flying with me, I should say.
Yep. It's always a pleasure on this end. I can tell you that much. So.
That's what she said. With that being said, we'll see you all next week on the Nerd Rundown.
See ya. Bye.